Hello, everyone. This is my banned book Pecha Kucha for my Education in a Democratic Society class. I am doing Gender Queer, a memoir. So, Gender Queer, a memoir, written by Maya Kobobe, is a adult nonfiction comic book that is roughly 239 pages long. So, it's a fairly extensive comic book. Now, Maya Kobobe, she is the author and designer of the book. She was born in 1989. She has a Master of Fine Arts in Comics and went to California College of the Arts. So, why did I choose this book? Well, a couple of reasons. So, we were encouraged to choose a book we wouldn't otherwise read, read a book that challenges us, and this book directly challenges some of my personal beliefs. And then also, this book is really controversial and has been really controversial ever since it came out. So I wanted to actually take the time to read it myself to see what the problem is that people are finding with this book. So, why does this book challenge me? Well, just to start out, I am religious. I grew up religious, and this book challenges the fundamental view on gender that my religion follows. So, this directly challenges some core beliefs of mine, specifically because of the religious views I have. So, the summary of the book. This book, again, written by Maya Kobabe, it's a memoir. It's a memoir describing the most defining life events of Maya Kobabe's life and how she came to the conclusion that she is gender queer. So that already gives a description and kind of helps you guide to some conclusions on why the book is controversial. So, my initial reaction when I was reading the book. Well, first of all, I thought the events were interesting, and I enjoyed gaining an understanding of the perspectives of someone from the LGBTQ plus community, which I'm not a part of. So I thought it was interesting, just trying to understand different points of view. But I was also shocked at the descriptive detail shown in the pictures and the narrative as well. And I became more in favor of restrictions for the book as I was reading it. So the more I was reading this book, the more I supported more restrictions. Where has the book been challenged? This book has been challenged not only in public schools, but also in public libraries. So the primary states is Texas, Florida, Pennsylvania, but it's been challenged across all of the United States, really. Not just these states, but these states in particular have had a lot of cases in many of their counties. So the key issues, it has LGBTQ plus content, mostly focused on self-discovery of sexual identity, but then also it has a lot of sexually explicit material. And one of the caveats I have is I don't understand why these are justifications to ban it from public libraries. But still, those are the two main issues surrounding the book. So, what's the result of this controversy? Well, Genderqueer became the most banned book in 2021. It was probably still one of the most banned books in 22, 23, 24, and 25. But I do believe in 2021, it was the most banned book. And it came out in 2019, so it did not take long for it to gain popularity and for there to get a lot of controversy surrounding the book. But the key arguments against the book are parental rights. A lot of parents want to be able to control their children's influence, and they also want their children to have access, or don't want their children to have access to explicit content or content not fit for their age. So I think for anybody, even people who are against banning books, understand why people are wary of a book like this. So, why shouldn't you ban books in general? So, a couple of the key arguments against banning books are the arguments for intellectual freedom, it goes against our Constitution, and also it restricts other children in the schools who have parents who don't mind if they read these books. So, it goes against some of their constitutional rights. But what do I think about banning books? Typically, I don't think it is necessary. I think there should be solutions other than straight up bans like age restrictions. And then also, I think mass banning is unconstitutional, especially if it gets to the level of a public library. But what about genderqueer? Well, genderqueer is an extreme example. It has a lot of explicit material, and at the very least, I think parental consent should be prioritized. I think even for those who are supporting the book can understand why people have a problem with this book. So, what issues does this create? Well, if you start banning books, the issue of infringing on students' rights occurs, especially the First Amendment, where you have freedom of speech, freedom of press, and freedom of petition. It inflicts some of these rights in what you are able to read in the First Amendment. But there are some relevant cases in the history of public school that kind of help us get a picture of this. So this is the Board of Island Free School District versus Stephen A. Pico in 82, and the Hazelwood School District versus Coulommiers in 1988. So the Pico case, this was a case surrounding banning books, and the Supreme Court ruled school boards may not remove books simply because they don't like the content in these books. So that supports students having the right to read what they want to. But then we also have a case called Hazelwood School District versus Coulommiers in 88, where a principal banned some content written by students. And the Supreme Court ruled in favor of educators if they have legitimate reasons. This means that in certain scenarios, educators do have the right to ban books. So the conclusion is there has been enough precedent set to accept the restriction on some student rights. And I think this is an extreme example, being a case where it is reasonable to see why a ban or restriction is necessary. Yep, that concludes this Pecha Kucha. Thanks for watching.